words. We've just done the walk today.
So you've done it today?
We've done it today, alhamdulillah. We've done it 5 kilometers.
Okay,
and Tourist over there carried me on his back for half of it.
Seekers Quest, let me just show you a t-shirt. There you go. Sponsored education in the UK and Gaza, mashallah. Alright boys, when you're ready to get started, let's go. He's doing it, you know. This is tough. Toy hasn't really had time to train for this, neither has Naeem. They're both very, very busy, very active volunteers for Islamic Help and students of Ibrahim College. Alhamdulillah, they're making this effort to try and raise as much awareness as possible for education around the Ummah. At the moment, we're concentrating on sponsored education in the UK and in Gaza. Hopefully in later years, with the Seekers Quest campaign, we aim to go on and do more in other countries, inshallah. So please sponsor them. Go to our team page, www.justgiving.com/TSQ, and you can make a donation to sponsor all of the Seekers Quest participants, inshallah.
Where was the walk?
We started from Jubilee Gardens in London, right? And then we finished at Tower of London.
Well, this is really, really good. Very encouraging to hear. I want to digress a little bit since I'm here and it's kind of, you guys have just pinched me. One of the things that I love about treks and kinds, etc., is the fitness and health element. I think the Muslim community needs to do this more and more. I think our young people need to be encouraged to participate more and more. But one of the key things to consider is that it needs to preoccupy our intentions more and more. That's probably something that you guys need to take away. Because it's very, very easy to think, okay, you know, what are we getting out of this? Oh, we're going to get a bit of fundraising, or we're going to support X, Y, and Z charity. But I think we also need to consider the whole exercise of participating in these types of things, organizing them, promoting them, etc., as something that also encourages the Muslim community to be active, to be healthy, and so on and so forth. I think that needs to also preoccupy our minds, and this is why more and more of this type of thing should happen, which is why I think it's great that you guys are doing it. We have some of the worst health problems as an ummah, not as a community in London, in England, or in London, or in Tahamlas, or what have you. As an ummah, I think we're one of the worst. If you consider the Muslim ummah as a nation, I think we're one of the where we have food to eat, of course. Where we have food to eat, we're one of the most, if not the most, unhealthy nation on the planet. So wherever Muslims, you know, it's like wherever we've managed to find a regular meal, you know, we've tried to make up for lost time or something, I don't know. So, like one stat, when I was doing an event about health in this community, in Tahamlas, a doctor said that a Saudi Arabian person, the average Saudi Arabian has, or rather Saudi Arabia has 5 times the rate of diabetes that the UK has. That's the average UK person, right? In the UK, the Muslim community has 3 times the rate of diabetes compared to anybody else. I don't know if you've heard the stats before, but it's pretty nasty. I did a lung cancer one. A type of lung cancer, and again, similar kind of situation. Muslim community was the worst. So it's great. I think there need to be more treks, more climbs, more marathons. Muslims, you know, need to be out there, walking the streets, running on the streets, cycling on the streets. That needs to happen more and more. But anyway, so that's actually one thing I want to add to what you're doing. This is an important layer, both from the point of view of intention, because you're rewarded for your intentions. If this is part of your intention also, then you're also rewarded for it for free, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala adds this to the scale of your hasanat and of your good deeds. And of course, your primary objective is to raise funds for these charities, for the charity in Gaza and for Ibrahim College. And it goes without saying, I said this to you guys once already on the street, that the most worthwhile cause, yes, it was on the street, the most worthwhile cause, longer term to invest in is education for the Muslim Ummah, simply because as an Ummah we haven't yet come to terms with our decline. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is the Muslim Ummah since the 19th century and then kind of it then peaking and then finally the Khilafah dying in 1924. As an Ummah we face unprecedented circumstances, unprecedented situations, we interact with unprecedented cultures that are foreign even to themselves. You know, what secularism, atheism in its current form, and some of the ideologies that underpin that are very, very alien even to the cultures wherein they have become popular, right? You know, it's almost been 100 years, and we are still grappling with these questions. We don't know. And in order to be able to grapple these questions, we need education. Education has to be it. But yet, while those interacting with the West are enjoying prosperity, and enjoying at least one type of education, those we've left behind have bigger challenges. They just food on their plates and security, and in the case of the Khazans, just knowing that a bomb's not going to land, right, are bigger concerns. But even those longer term, ultimately, it is education, knowledge of their time, knowledge of the people who they are conflicting with, knowledge of who they have around them, knowledge of their own history. All of these things are ultimately going to give them the necessary tools, the necessary empowerment, the necessary knowledge and intelligence to be able to come out of those situations. But most importantly also, if part of that mix, to some extent, in the last 100 years, the Muslims have tried to seek the educational solution with the West. They've adopted the Western model of education. They've taken that on board, and they've taken that on board not as a religious solution, of course, but they've taken it on board as a worldly solution, because they thought that the solution to their worldly problems lie there because these people seem to have solved it for themselves. And what that has essentially done is created an internal conflict for us, because we've come to realize that the overall values that underpin that system, we struggle. It's created this massive conflict for us. It's created an identity crisis for us. It's created a crisis of values for us, a crisis of morality, a crisis of ethics. It's created all of those things. It's tipped us against the Quran, against the Sunnah. We find ourselves struggling with Allah's commands. We find ourselves struggling with the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ because of the fact that the Islamic world has looked towards this system for its solutions in the dunya. When, in fact, if we had maintained our Islamic identity, maintained our Islamic education systems as like the main fountain of knowledge, of inspiration, the main fountain where we kind of go to seek our solutions and so forth, and then all we've done is adapted that to everything that's going on around us, we would have probably been in a much healthier situation. Maybe not in a very strong situation, maybe not, but we're not in a very strong situation now. What has all of that got us? What has adopting Western models and the Western system got us? It's got us nowhere. It's got us a whole lot of hegemony, basically, in our countries and in our lands. So, for me, education is the solution, and I kind of look, in any given crisis, I look at what the educational gap is and how that can be filled. Like right now, I'm heavily involved in the Bangladesh crisis. And for me, even in there, for example, educating people about the problem, about the crisis, is also the solution, as far as I'm concerned. And that has a short-term element to it, a medium-term element to it, and a longer-term element to it. So I'm going to wrap up with what I said the other day, that people who participate in fundraising activities and who donate and support education are the intelligent donors of the Ummah, basically. They're the smart ones. Our experience, right, we've been doing it for 10 years. Oh boy, that's hard slog. 10 years, right, at it. And we've always found that the people who come forward and support education, really, really support it, right? You know, you always get the pennies and pounds, but we're talking about the people who come in with the thousands, you know, the tens of thousands, even the hundreds of thousands. Yes, there's been a few of those as well. You know, tend to be people who are smart. You know, they're really, really smart. They haven't made money, you know, from a corner shop, basically. You know, they're people who've made money from, you know, through having a strategy, an intelligent business, and therefore they tend to understand the longer-term picture. And for them, you know, it's like they'll give to a masjid, but they're looking for that big educational project to support. All right. So they're always the intelligent ones, mashallah. And what's really, really amazing about it, of course, is that from a purely spiritual point of view, and from a purely otherworldly point of view, as far as our akhirah is concerned, it is also the most beneficial, because it is the one thing that gives us a stake in the rewards of the people that we support. Right? So we hope, inshallah, can look forward to lots and lots of things in the Day of Judgment in our book of deeds that we haven't done, basically, just because we've empowered others to do them. Okay, Jazakumullah khairan. Very nice to meet you all, you know, albeit in this hijacked fashion. MashaAllah, well done.